All right.
If they can move up, they can move up. If anyone wants to stay where they are, they can stay where they are.
All right, good evening. I want to thank Yossi for having me tonight.
Thank you for coming back.
Yeah, my wife really wanted to come, but she's not feeling well, so sorry about that. Yeah, thank you. I think that's why everyone's really here, to hear her, not to hear me. Now, this week, we're going to lay Parshas Reeh, and I think that's too loud. I don't know, there's too much feedback. Maybe I stand back a little further. So Parshas Reeh repeats the whole thing of Sefer Dvarim. In English, they call it Deuteronomy. What is that? That sounds funny to us. Where does that come from? It actually comes from Chazal. All these funny names that they have in English really are sourced in what Chazal actually called the Chamisha Chumshei Torah. People don't know that. You know, we call the Chamisha Chumshei Torah by the names of something that's one of the first words in that particular Chumash. So we say Gracious, that's the first word, Shmos is the second word, Dvarim is the second word, and so forth, and that's the names that we traditionally give. But if you look in Chazal, really, the names are different. Gracious was still Maisa Gracious, so that's pretty close. And Shmos was Yitzias Mitzrayim, so that's where the name Exodus comes from. And people know that Vayikra is really called Teres Kahanim, and the Kohanim are from Shevet Levi, and that's where the name Leviticus comes from. And B'midbar, why is it called Numbers? Because the Chazal called Chumash HaPikudim, Book of Counting. And Dvarim is called Mishnah Torah. Mishnah Torah, we know, is a repetition of the Torah. And so too, Deuteronomia, first in Greek is Deuteronomion, which then in Latin became Deuteronomium, which then in English became Deuteronomy, and that's really where the name comes from. Mishnah Torah, that's what it's called. We know from a lot of folks have a minhag on Leil Hoshana Rabbah to read the whole Sefer of Dvarim, and they call it Mishnah Torah because that's what Chazal called the Sefer. So, of course, there are things in Sefer Dvarim that are unique, but many things, as the name Mishnah Torah implies, are repeated from what we have already in previous of the Chamisha Chumshei Torah. And particularly, we know that this week's Sedra in Parshas Reeh, we have something that's repeated from Parshas Shmini. And what's that? It's the laws of Kashrus. And of course, it's slightly different what we read in Parshas Reeh than what we read in Parshas Shmini. But I find, to me personally, there's a word from the Kashrus Levi that talks to me very strongly, and I want to share with you all. It's in Parshas Shmini, so even though we're this week's Parshas Reeh, so it's worthwhile, and it's even connected to certain Yonei D'Yoma, which we might see as the lecture continues. So it says, "Vaydaber Hashem al Moshe l'Aharon leimor aleihem darbo b'nei Yisrael zoy sachaya." So the Kashrus Levi asks, he says, what does this say here? It says Hashem spoke to Moshe and to Aaron in order to say to them, and these are the animals, speak unto the Bnei Yisrael, speak unto them, tell them, these are the animals that you could eat. So the Kashrus Levi asks, what is this Leimor Leihem? It already says, Vaydaber Hashem al Moshe l'Aharon, and then it says Leimor Leihem. So why does it say this word, Leimor Leihem? If it already says that Hashem spoke to them, why is it saying in order to say to them? We have a general rule all throughout Tanakh that there's no superfluous words. Anything that seems superfluous, secular readers will look at this and think that it's just trying to be poetic, just trying to be fancy, but we know that nothing's by accident. Kadosh Baruch Hu put every word, every letter in the Torah as a message for us, as a lesson for us. And so what's this Leimor Aleihem? And so the Kashrus Levi, who, I don't know, I've always had a warm place in my heart for the Kashrus Levi. Just before we get started, I remember reading a book from Elie Wiesel. I remember seeing him once in Queens when I was in yeshiva. He was somewhere else nearby, and I went down to see him. He was so happy to see a tzura like this coming to greet him, to listen to him speak. But in one of his books, he said the Kashrus Levi, the Berditchev Rav, the term he used was a hero of the Hasidic movement. It's a very nice term. I think it's apropos. But I found out interestingly, my own yichus going back, that I had an Alter Zeta going back in the time of the Berditchever, was the Kruler Rav, Moshe Arya Kruler. And the Berditchever Rav came to Krula to visit him in Hungary. Many years later, 100 years later, Satmar Rav was Rav in Krula. But this was, he was the second Rav in Krula. This Rav Moshe Aryeh Krula, his father, Meir Leib, was the first Rav in Krula going back 200 years ago. And the Berditchever Rav came to Krula, and he wanted to meet the Krula Rav. And my Elter Zayda, the Krula Rav, the story goes is he was so afraid he's going to become Hasidish, he jumped out the window. But I'll be honest with you, I have nachas that to me that's a simon of ehrlichkeit, because he didn't know what it was. It was something new he didn't know, and that to hold true to who you are is, I think, something very important. But anyway, that's beside the point. The Kashrus Levi, he asked this question that we said before. What is this extra words, leimer aleihem? What's the point of this? So near the Hine Rashi's al Kosav al Posek, ha'elich krosi lach isha menekes in the Ivrius. So he brings in Parshas Shmos that Rashi explains that when Paro's daughter found the little baby Moshe Rabbeinu, so Miriam followed along to see what's going to happen. And when she came, she followed and she saw that Paro's daughter picked up this baby, and she said, oh, maybe I need to find a mother who's nursing who can nurse this baby, a nursemaid. Now, this shouldn't seem like such a strange thing to ask, because it was a common thing, especially in those days, to hire a nursemaid, and especially you're adopting a child, of course. How else is the child going to be fed, especially in those days? They didn't have formula. So what are they going to do? But the thing is that why specifically did Miriam say Mina Ivrios? Why did she say a Hebrew woman? Why wasn't it enough why couldn't they find an Egyptian woman? And so Rashi brings a medrash that it says, Zartel Mitzrias Harbe Linek V'Loyonag. That Paro's daughter went around, she was looking for someone in the palace, a nursemaid, an Egyptian nursemaid, because that's what they had. And Moshe Rabbeinu refused to nurse. And so, why is that? And so she went and got his own mother. Wasn't too long, and he was able to be nursed by his own mother. So why was that? So Rashi says, he brings from Medrash Lefishu Osel Ladaber Meshchina, that Moshe Rabbeinu. I'm sorry, I'm used to speaking in different crowds. I'm not used to from crowds and chaplain in different places. So sometimes something will come out that doesn't sound so Hamish. So Moshe Rabbeinu, he was destined that the Shekhinah is going to speak from his own mouth. So Rashi says that he didn't want to have any nourishment from something that's tameh, because it wouldn't be fitting for the mouth that's going to have prophecy come from it. The Shekhinah is going to come from it to speak through it. It's not proper, even though al pi halacha it's mutter. Meaning, really, the halacha is you're allowed to take a nachris to be a nursemaid, al pi halacha, and al pi halacha, it's really a problem for either shifro to be a nursemaid for a nachri. It's also an issue because you're megadol ben avodah zara. But yet we see that that's not what happened. It was just here was just the opposite, but. She knew it was really her child, and they knew everything was okay. And now, of course, it was before Matan Torah. But still, there's this inyan that he had to have only from a kosher source. Meaning not that the tarfus is not necessarily in the yanika, but rather what is she eating? Where is it coming from? All these things is perhaps, even though meikar din al pi halacha is okay. But it seemed that in order to be a Navi, you have to follow some chumras too, it seems. But anyway, that's beside the point. We see that there's a connection here to this, to Kashrus and the Shekhinah, even though this is not here, it's not the meaning of Kashrus. But then the Kashrus Levi brings the Ramban. And he says, the Ramban HaKadosh Kosav. The Ramban explains what's the whole reason. What's one of the reasons? I mean, it's not really right to say a reason. I remember in Yeshiva, Reb Zev Leff, he said that we call them Tamei HaTorah. He said, really, Meikar Adin, but just biologically speaking, let's say a person could theoretically survive with nutrients that don't taste like anything. And there's no geschmack. You can just swallow pills. Really, the way the stomach works and everything, you need water, you need something to fill it up, but still, theoretically a person could survive without any flavor and just have the nutrients his body needs. But yet, God gives us a geschmack. I remember hearing from different places like this, that we can enjoy this geschmack of eating, and that's a gift from a Kadosh Baruch Hu. That it's not just stam that we receive nutrients, but we enjoy it too. Now, that being said, just the opposite. If you would have some rocks that have no nutrients, but taste delicious, so a person could survive with no geschmack, maybe not psychologically, but physically could survive without the geschmack of eating. But if you would have delicious things that have no nutritional value and that's all you would eat, you wouldn't survive. And so the same thing, the Torah itself, we keep because the Kodesh Baruch Hu said so. That's the reason we follow the mitzvahs. Yet, we have Tamei Torah. That's not the reasons why we keep the Torah, but rather it's a tam, it's a flavor, it's a geschmack that we can understand on our level, something that, meaning we can do without that geschmack. We could survive without that, maybe physically, but maybe spiritual, maybe psychologically, we need a little bit more. And so that's why we have this Indian of Tamei Torah. And so the Ramban, Kashrus Levi brings here Ramban, that brings a tam to the mitzvah of Kashrus. The many mitzvahs of Kashrus. Kashrus involves many various mitzvahs. And one aspect is that there are certain animals that we know, as the Torah tells us, that we're not allowed to eat. So what's the reason for that? So Ramban says, Masha Asr Lanu Torah Elu Tameim Mishum She'elu Molin Teva Achzorius Begufa Adam. So the Ramban says, basically, you are what you eat. Look at the animals we eat. We eat cows, sheep, goats, chickens, fish. These are generally very docile animals, especially the mammals that we eat. They're all herbivores, they're all vegetarians, they're all very docile. They're all very sweet animals. I lived on a farm for part of my life. And you see, all right, maybe a wild bull or, could be a little dangerous, or a ram. But still, compared to other animals, the famous animal, of course, the Dover Acher, the Chazer, is a very vicious animal, a very dangerous animal. And not only carnivorous, but omnivorous, will eat whatever and actually won't stop attacking a person. They're very vicious animals. Pigs. So for the Klal Yisrael, we have this mitzvah of kashrus. Why? Because when you eat an animal that's an achzer, that's a cruel animal, that's a vicious animal, it's like the old saying goes, you are what you eat. It's funny, a friend of mine, just a side point of this, you are what you eat, a little word. I remember a friend of mine once said, he said that the Tanya brings that a person should be so humble that he should feel like he's not worth anything, like he's just shirayim, he's just leftovers. The Lashon of the Tanya is shirayim. So then he said, maybe that's the Indian to go to a Rebbe and eat shirayim because you are what you eat. It makes you humble. That's just what a friend of mine, I remember, from Great Neck said once. So he said, Masha Asr Lanu Torah Elu Tmeim Mishum She'elu Melin Tevach Zarius. We eat the sweet, kind animals because it makes us sweet and kind. And if Chas v'Shalom we would eat these other animals, we would be cruel like them. Begufa Adam, it goes into the body, says the Rambam. V'Yisrael Am Kodesh Tzrichim Liyos Lamidas Chesed. So the Jewish people, they have to be kind, loving people, just like these kind, loving, sweet animals that we eat. So now the Kashrus Levi, he brings something else. He says, "V'lasid lavoi, also the Kadosh Baruch Hu l'daber and kolish Yisrael." Klal Yisrael, right now, we can say, "Imhein neviim, hein b'nei neviim, hein." We're not neviim now. We're only the children of neviim. We're only the students of the neviim. We learn their words. But when Mashiach comes, we're all going to be neviim. K'moshe Nemar. There's a pasuk in Sefer Yol, one of the Treyos. He says, "V'niru b'neichem noseichem." It says, and your sons and daughters will prophesy. Zikneichem chalomos yechloimun. The old people will see dreams, will dream dreams. Bachureichem chazyonos yiru. And your young men, are going to see visions. Meaning every Jew, when Mashiach comes, is going to be a Navi. We're all going to be prophets. So therefore, what's this all about? Remember what we said before, Moshe Rabbeinu, because of his, not just at the time, he was a little baby, he wasn't a Navi yet, right? Except although this Chazal say children have Nevuah, but at that time he wasn't even talking, so there wasn't what to talk about. Even if he was a Navi, we couldn't hear anything from him. But there we're talking about his future. What was he going to be in the future? And so because of his destiny, he had to only be receiving his nourishment from kosher sources. Even as before the Torah was given. Because it's not only, and that could be a reason why we're saying this inyan of what we're talking about even before the Torah was given, because what the Ramban is saying is lav davka, the reason why we keep in kashrus, it's only maybe a fringe benefit of keeping kashrus. Meaning again, the ikar reason is because the Kadosh Baruch Hu said so, but in a way it's almost like the Ramban is offering a scientific thing, a truth about these animals that we eat and what it does to our bodies in a certain way from how the Ramban was explaining, perhaps in a certain way, and so that would apply even before Matan Torah. And so if this man was going to be a Navi, he had to be holding this inyan of Kashrus even at that time. And he's going to be the Ava Nevi'im, he's going to be the greatest Navi who ever lived. So Nimsa, Keim Shel Kodesh Baruch Yidaber Mehem. So the thing is, God's going to talk to us. So how could it be that this mouth that ate something that's not kosher could speak through the Shekhinah? So perhaps as the Kedusha's Levi we could say this is a remez that we see here. That it says, it already says Vaidaber, what do you need this Lemor Aleichem? It already says that Hashem spoke to Moshe and Aaron. What is this Lemor Aleichem in order to say to them? And so the answer is, Haremez Shani Osid Lemor Aleichem. That this is a means to the end that I should be able to speak to them. Meaning by virtue of observing the laws of Kashrus, we could be worthy that eventually HaKadosh Baruch will speak to us through Nevuah. Well, who is it? Lemor Aleichem says the Berditch of Rav L'chol Echad ve'echad, to each and every one. L'kach lo'yoichlu davar tamei, and therefore you can't eat something that's not kosher because we have to be ready for Nevuah. Atkan divrei Kedushas Levi. Now I don't know about you all, but I know myself, I didn't always keep kosher. So am I going to be left out when all you all are going to be receiving Nevuah and I'm going to have to stand outside and I'm going to have to be left out because I didn't grow up in a frum home? My Zayda was frum, all of a shalom, my Baba's all gesund sein, but it skipped a generation. I hope it doesn't happen again. We have to daven, that's all. So what can I do? What's the answer that I have in my own life that when Mashiach comes, I shouldn't be left out from this gift of Nevuah. And so I found some chizuk that we have something in certain sidurim and benchers and so forth. By Shalashudas there's a bakosha l'shem yichud that are printed in some sidurim that says that I'm ready now to fulfill the mitzvah of eating the third Shabbos meal, to eat Shalosh Sudos. Why do we call it Shalosh Sudos? When it's, there's some people, they're very into dikduk, and there's like, it's not Shalosh Sudos, it's Sudat Shlishit. Why do you call it like that? So here, there's an answer to it. There's a reason why traditionally, colloquially, we call it Shalosh Sudos, Shalosh Sudos, instead of Sudat Shlishit. What's the reason why there's this old tradition to call this meal, which should be called the third meal, instead we call it 3 meals. And it's hinted to in this prayer. First, we say this particular meal, Sudah Shlishi Shel Shabbos, we talk about the third meal. And in merit of that particular meal by itself, it says in Natzal Mulchamas Gog and Magog, that will be saved from the wars at the end of time before Mashiach and so forth. Again, that same friend of mine who said that word about Shrayim, he once showed me, he said that the Chavetz Chaim said that Milchemes Gog and Magog will have to be a spiritual war, not a physical war. And he said, just a side note, he says, what's the reason for that? He said, Haraya, the fact that when you hear that's a spiritual war and not a physical war, most people will feel relieved. Oh, it's just a spiritual war. That I can deal with. A physical war, that's going to be too much. If that's our hashkafa, then we don't have our right priorities. We should be much more afraid of a milchama ruchni than a milchama gashmi. But again, that's a side point. So in the schus, it's a Gemara in Shabbos, and the schus of eating that third meal, we're saved from the Piranios of Chevli Mashiach and Gog and Magog and so forth, and the schus of that Suda. So it's a big deal. We should be, we should be careful to keep that. But then afterwards, that same Bakasha ends, and it says Keneged Yaakov Avinu, and Av Shivim Nefesh, and it says all these different things, and then it goes on to say V'schus Shelo Sudas Elu. Now it says in the merit of these three meals, meaning not just this particular meal that we're eating Shalosh Sudas, but all three meals that we Mekayim Onek Shabbos by eating the Sudas of Shabbos. Yisukun Masher Begamti B'Machulas Asuras, Sudas Rishus. He said that the schus of eating all three meals on Shabbos, it's a tikkun for non-kosher food, forbidden foods, and even for permitted foods that we don't have to eat, and we eat just a rishus that it's no obligation, it's not a sudas mitzvah, it's just something that we eat. And so to me, if we can make a tzushtel between this Kedushas Levi and this idea that eating on Shabbos is a tikkun of macholas asuras. B'chlal, every bite we eat on Shabbos, we're fixing. Even if someone thought they were always keeping kosher, you never know, something could go wrong. I saw someone on a forum online. They said, they heard in another religion they also have dietary laws, and they said, but they trust each other. They don't have to have a certificate from their clerics to say that it meets their dietary laws. They trust each other, and if someone's lying, it's on that person's fault. It's not the person who's eating's fault. And they said, why can't we do like that? And I said, well, the difference is that our religion's true, and that's one difference. We take it seriously, and just that the halacha doesn't say like that. We do have to find out. Yeah, you do trust people that you know and that have them on us, but you go to the Stama restaurant, you need a Rav Machshir, you need to know where the food's coming from. Or somehow to figure out what's going on. But even with that, even sometimes they have a reliable hashgacha and someone does something behind the scenes. Of course, hundreds of years ago in Kruka and Krakow, there was a story like that. And unfortunately, we know not too long ago, stories have happened here in New York and other places we don't need to mention. And so what kind of tikkun is there, even if we don't know if we did something wrong, or even like I said, maybe we didn't follow every chumrah. Maybe stam to keep the halacha. It's like this, but to reach Nevuah, maybe there's a reason for all these chumras that people keep. And so anyway, eating on Shabbos, Onik Shabbos, is a tikkun for that, for whatever it is. So therefore, if we said that eating on Shabbos is a tikkun for machalos asuras, so then we can go on to say and keeping kosher is a preparation for Nevuah. And so therefore, eating on Shabbos is therefore a preparation for Nevuah. Meaning, while we're eating on Shabbos, we're making an investment that when Mashiach comes, we're going to be Nevi'im. Even no matter what it is, meaning even if we always kept kosher, but meaning that act of eating on Shabbos, all the three meals that we eat on Shabbos, every bite we eat, when we eat the kugel and the cholent and the fish and the challah and the eggs and the pcha, whatever we eat, every bite we take is it's getting us ready for Nevuah when Mashiach comes. So that's a tremendous thing. That's a tremendous investment. And really, to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I remember when I was a little kid, I went to Hebrew school in the Reform Temple, and when I was a little older, we moved up to this area. And even though my father's not Jewish, my mother's Jewish, my father would drive me 40 minutes each way, twice a week, from Callicoon. We lived on a farm to Fallsburg, to the town shul. where I learned with the Malamed there. All day he taught in a day school, and then after he was done in the day school, he'd come and learn with the public school kids, what they call the Hebrew school. And it's funny because years later, I was teaching in the yeshiva. I was teaching English in the Cheder in Fallsburg, and so I had one of his sons in my class, so Torah Machzeres Lachsani Shalom. So I just remember the lashon that he used, whatever, I was 12 years old, 11 years old, he said that God transcends time. And that's true. So meaning, this Farmer Connection talk about avodas and Nevuah, that Nevuah itself is not just to see the future and even to hear Hashem, but there's an avodah of Nevuah. So that means that really an essential part, it's not just that when we're eating on Shabbos, we're making an investment for our own future that will be Nevi'im, which is true. But in a sense, if you learn, like I know I saw the Pisetzner, he has a Sefer Mavei Sharm, he talks about Nyan of Nevuah. And in a sense, that's really what he's talking about, is that when if there's this inyan of avodas and nevuah, that means that while we're eating on Shabbos, that's an inyan of avodas and nevuah. If we think about that, we see it's a totally different experience when we sit and eat on Shabbos. It's a tremendous thing. It's a really mind-blowing thing that we all do. And if we do it anyway, we might as well be inspired by what we're doing and get some chizik from it. Now, it's interesting and so that's the connection that the title that I gave of Shabbos and Kashrus to Nevuah. But there's something else interesting. I know our Sedra this week talks about Nevi'ei Sheker, also talks about Nevuah and also talks about false prophets. And there are all kinds of people who are so fascinated by this event that's coming on Rosh Chodesh Elul. We don't know what it means. Of course, everything is a lesson from the Kadosh Baruch Hu, and we know the Chazal say, the Gemara in Sukkah, that says Hashem Eshloika Siman Ralu Chalaylam Kulai, that there's a siman that if when there's generally not all the Mefarshim understand like Hashem to mean an eclipse, a solar eclipse, because actually because the solar eclipse it's predicted. We know exactly when it is, where it is, but there's quite interesting times in history where there were solar eclipses. I heard one person say that just before Yonah came to Nineveh, that it's recorded in history there was a solar eclipse, and that's what gave them Hirurei Tshuva, that they had to repent to the whole Nineveh. I heard such a thing. I don't know if it's true or not, but it's interesting. It fits. We have to see. It's interesting. We haven't had in America such an eclipse like this for 100 years, but then they say 7 years from now there'll be Rosh Chodesh Nisan. Will also be, and it'll be closer to this area. But that's neither here nor there. That's not what to talk about. So we can, even though if we're not traveling down to, I don't know, I have a friend of mine, he's a rabbi in Tennessee, and he's so excited. He said, anyone who wants to come see the eclipse could come to Tennessee. My wife's from Idaho Falls. It's another place where the eclipse is going to. Here we're only going to have Parsha. And I'm not planning to go on any trips. I don't know if any of you all are. But it's Niflas Abari. It's an incredible Niflas Abari. I mean, if anything, we know that there's intelligence in the Bria, that the Kadosh Baruch Hu, what we believe, that Kadosh Baruch Hu created our world and everything. The fact that there could be such a thing as a solar eclipse is so unlikely that you have the sun is 400 times bigger than the moon, but 400 times further away. No other planet in our solar system has anything like that. The ones that are closer don't have any moons, and Mars has these little weird potato-shaped moons, and then the other ones, their moons are almost as big as our planet. And here, the bigger planets. But here we have exactly such a thing that could only be because the Kadosh Baruch Hu on Yom Reeh of Ma'aseh Bereishis put it, L'oisos and L'yadim, L'yam L'shonim, that the Kadosh Baruch Hu made such a thing. So anyway, that being said, it's just fascinating. Whether or not it's a siman of anything, for sure we can say, like Chazal says, it's a siman we should do tshuva. And that's always good, especially Elul. Whether it is whatever it means, it's always good. But it's just fascinating. I quoted here Yoel. This Perek Gimel Yoel, is a very short Perek. It's only 5 psukim. And what I just said from the Kedushas Levi, it says, "V'haya achrich came," Eshbeichas ruchi al kol basar. It says, after that, I'm going to pour out my spirit on all flesh. V'nivu b'neichem loisechem. We just quoted, your sons and your daughters will prophesy. Zikneichem cholomis yachloimen. Your elders will dream dreams. V'achreichem chasyonis yiru. Your young men are going to see visions. V'gam al hu'avodim al shvachas b'yamim ha'hema eshbeichas ruchi. On everybody. Even the avodim, the shvachas, everyone, meaning so... but they're also keeping kashrus. That's an Eved Kanani has to keep kosher also. But then it goes further. But Nasati, this we know from the Haggadah Shal Pesach. Nasati moifsim b'shemayim ba'aretz. I'm going to put signs, wonders in heaven and earth. Dam ve'ishvasim asashim, blood and fire and pillars of smoke. And then it says Hashemesh Yehovech l'chosher. You okay? Oh. Okay.
He's coming back. He's coming back. He went to Gavin Myron.
My husband left. Why?
Yeah,
he went to
Gavin Myron. He's coming back. They'll be back soon.
Right. The sun will turn to darkness via Reeh Adam, the moon to blood that we had on Pesach and Sukkot, a lunar eclipse that made it red. Before the great and awesome day of Hashem, which means it says when Mashiach comes, and anyone who calls Hashem will be saved. Again, what we said before about Shalashudas, be saved from Muhammad's Gog and Magog. Again, I'm not from the Choykei Kates. You're not supposed to say this, but maybe we don't have to wait that long. We don't have to wait till next week. But the schus, maybe we think about that. This, we have Shabbos Mevorchen this week, Shabbos Mevorchen Elul, a big deal. And we sit and have Shalashudas, and we eat all our meals on Shabbos. We can think about this. Ki bohar tzion b'Yerushalayim ti'pleta kasher Hashem v'sridam asher Hashem karei. That there will be those who remain in Yerushalayim, and anyone that Hashem calls will be left. And so all we can say is that those two things, those two inyanim of Nevuah, and also this shmira from Muhammad's Gog and Magog, and people are scared of all kinds of wars and things. If we have Onik Shabbos, and don't get worried, and be happy, and live our lives, I think that's part of the message there. Is don't be a fanatic. We've had so much tsuras in Klal Yisrael because of people, when the Shabbos Tzvi came, and all these people, they picked up and they went to Israel, and then they saw he wasn't Mashiach, and then they tried to go home and there was nothing left, and it made people very bitter. The message is, don't worry too much. Have Onik Shabbos. Enjoy. That's the tikkun for everything. Live your life. And then that's schus, when the time comes, and be erlich and do tshuva, and that's schus. We should be zeicha to all the good things that we're hoping for, and it should be a good year and a good convention. Thank you.